This one here is server-side template injection, which I was very interested to learn about. I learned about it from a single tweet. Somebody in the security community put up a tweet and said, hey, I found a new way to make a shell with SSTI, and had about 3 lines of code that looked really confusing and complicated. And it was injecting into these server-side templates. So let's take a look at that. I have a running there. This project, you start by making your own server, but you don't have to. If you skip to the bottom part, you can use my server, which is what I'm going to do. Let me clear my old things. I'm running a running server to attack here. And what this does is it uses one of the modern template engines to make a modern web page. Modern web pages aren't just HTML or PHP files just sitting there. They are active objects created by an engine that fills in the pieces of the page from a database based on queries, and you put in data. Now, this is a very simple version that just has a one user search form. So if I search for Sam, it will always tell you I found Sam. But the point is, it has a template injection vulnerability. And so if I put in curly brace, 1, curly brace, that is the code. Let me make that bigger. That is the code that indicates that what's inside here is a form field to be filled by some kind of calculation. And so when it did the calculation and turned it into 1, and I could also do 1 plus 1. And it will do that calculation, and now you have SAM2. So again, you can inject commands, but only in this language called server-side templates, which is probably not exactly the right word for the language, but it's anyway, it is this structure that you can inject commands on. And the reason you can do awesome things with that is because it's based on Python 3. So let me get my Linux box up so I can show you the joy of hacking this stuff. There we are, Debian. All right. So here is my Linux box, and it has Python 3 on it. All right, and so what's going on here, the real vulnerability we're going to exploit here is only in a limited way from the server-side template engine. It's mainly exploiting Python itself. And to see that, let's clear this. Let's get out of this with Control D, clear. All right, and make it bigger. All right, so let's take a look at some things about Python. And I'm going to find my instructions here. This is all in that SSTI project. All right. So if I run Python 3, and then I make an object like an S that's a string. So it's going to be hello. Python, oops, I didn't match my quotes properly. All right, there. Now S is hello. If I type S, it'll print out hello. So I've created an object, and hello is not just a string like it might be in C. It is an object. You can do a directory of that object to see its attributes and methods. And you will see, well, that it has many, many attributes and methods. There are many things you can do to it. Some of them start with these underscores and some of them don't. So you can have, for example, is numeric. So I can do s.isNumeric. And it will tell me that is what refers to the method. And if I run the method by putting in parentheses, it will give me the answer, which is false. This is not numeric because it contains hello. And I can use upper and lower. So if I print, here's S, and s.upper is the capital version, and lower is the lowercase version. So you can do many, many things to it. Now you can also find out what class it is in with s.__class __. So this is a string, a class string. Okay, so it is an object and it has a class. Okay, now we can walk up the hierarchy. S class itself also has a class. It is a type. So the string is class string, and the class string is a type. So that makes sense, but you can walk up also to the base of the whole system. And now you have class object. And the reason this is important is because I can now walk back down. So I've walked up from a string to the class and over to the object. Now I am at the root of the entire Python 3 object-based tree. Now I can add more things to it and walk back down until I can find anything I want. So let's do that. You can see the subclasses. Let me put in this there. If I import these processes, and then I can now do, so we do S class base, now I can see the subclasses it has. And as you can see, there are many, many things you can do because that is the object, the root of the entire tree. And the point of this is you can, by doing this, I don't think I'll continue to do it all live because it gets a little involved, but you can start with an object in Python 3, and by just adding more dot and more specifiers to it, you can walk up to the object, then you can walk down to subclasses, and you can find a method available to the subclasses object that will catch warnings, and this has the import method. So you can now import something. So what you can do is take code that somebody has written in Python 3 that they're running, and you can import a library into that running code that the developer did not import. So you can import the OS system library, and then you can execute shell commands inside there. It's bloody awesome. So it does involve these long series of these subclasses, but you can ultimately get command line injection through this template engine. So I just thought I'd point that one out. It is interesting and a vulnerability that you have in websites if they let you put in the special character, and in this case, it's the curly brace special character. And so here you can see this mess will actually execute an ls on my server. It'll execute ls to temp out. This is an example of the whole injection that you have to do that. It can be kind of nuts, but it is kind of fun to learn how to do it, and it resembles SQL injection quite a bit.